Welcome to episode 1 of Getting to Know You, a podcast from students on the MA Radio, Audio and Podcasting course at the University of Sunderland.
My name is Tanya and I'm from Minsk, Belarus.
And I'm Tristan and I am from Kinross in Scotland.
In this short series, you'll be hearing from us as we get to know each other whilst we get to know the city in which we find ourselves. It's all new for us and perhaps for you as well. So, let's get started. Shall we start?
Yeah, I want to get some of these ducks, if I'm honest.
You want to record ducks?
Well,
Like, let's interview them.
yeah. Hello,
Mr.
ducks.
Dog.
Hello, ducks. Can we please get an interview? Anyway, I guess we should introduce where we are.
Okay.
We are in Ryhope for Getting to Know You.
Podcast.
We are currently outside the Ryhope Engines Museum / pumping station. It's a beautiful old building, isn't it? Like,
It is.
it's a beautiful old building, and it's a good starting point, I suppose, because our whole point of being here today is to walk around Ryhope and look around some of the points of interest whilst getting to know us.
Yes.
Hence the name of the podcast.
Sure. And I think this is a good place to go from Sunderland, let's say, on the weekend. For instance, if you don't know what to do in Sunderland,
Yeah,
you can go there and you can see this beautiful engine museum. I mean, the building itself is very beautiful. It's quite old. It was built, I think, at the end of 18th century.
Yeah, I mean, back when it was in its heyday, it was a big water pumping station, wasn't it? So it pumped water all around the northeast, and I mean, there's still a little pool of water there. I would love to go near it because it's full of ducks, and we've got some ducks right next to us here as well. But unfortunately, we can't. So we shall get going from the Engines Museum because we have picked a day in which it's shut, so we can't go inside. And we will walk through Ryhope, take you with us, get to know us a bit, get to know the place a little bit as well. So Ryhope's a bit like if you were to take a slice of Sunderland and put it slightly outside Sunderland. If you don't know what it is, it's a little village on the outside. Well, I say little. It's not that little. It's not that little compared.
It's
compared
a big
to,
village
compared to where villages where we're from.
Yeah.
Ryhope is definitely not that little. But yeah, it's a village outside Sunderland. It used to be a little mining community. So there's, like a lot of the northeast, I suppose, there are collieries everywhere, and the colliery wheel is actually our final stop today. So we will be visiting the pit wheel, but
before,
yes,
we're going to the cemetery.
Yeah, we're going to take a stop off at the cemetery, which houses some Commonwealth war graves as well, which is it's a thing common of many cemeteries around the UK, I suppose. I don't know what it's like for you back in Belarus, but I know in Kinross, where I'm from, we've got 5 churches or something, and cemeteries with Commonwealth war graves in them. So we'll get to see some of them as well.
Okay, you were asking me about the cemetery, the similar cemetery in Belarus.
I don't know what the kind of culture there is when it comes to dead people, I guess is the best way to say it.
Actually, yeah, there are cemeteries in Belarus in general, obviously, but you can't see. But for instance, if you will go to Belarus, you won't see cemetery like this. I mean, like if we are talking about people who died at some huge war, for instance, in the Second World War, you will, like in Belarus or in general in the Eastern Europe, you will find often just one huge monument for these people, like for those in honor to those who died in such events. So there is no cemetery for people who died in war.
Yeah, well, we're coming up on it now. We're coming up on, also in the cemetery is a very abandoned looking church. I don't know if it actually is, but it doesn't look very operational. A lot of people get cremated now, and
yeah.
not a lot of people have like Christian funerals or that. I mean, when I was in Scotland, technically I was christened into the Church of England, even though I had never lived in England. But in Scotland I didn't go to a religious school, but we did have to go to church all the time.
Okay.
For big services like Easter Sunday and things like that. Those were always big back home, and I don't know that that's a massive part down here anymore.
In Belarus, we even have a holiday for like this issue. Like in Belarus, we have even a day off for this event. For instance, there is just a separate day where you with your family can go on the cemetery just to carry about your relatives' graves.
Yeah, I think that's something that we could do with. I know people wouldn't complain about a holiday, but we're coming up to it now, and you can see a lot of these are quite old, but also a lot of them are quite dirty, I suppose. They don't look like they've been visited in a while. The ones that you can see that are clean and pristine are the wall graves, because the government takes care of them.
Okay, but there are not much white graves.
Let's go and have a look at one of these, one of the wall graves.
Sure.
Because we've got a couple down here. I used to see these a lot because the church I lived near had a section with a lot of them in. So we got, two here? So we got...
Yeah, there are just two of it.
Scots Guard unit, in fact. I don't know really what he's doing here, but...
He was just 22 when he was
22,
died.
so it was 1943, so that would have been in the middle of the Second World War.
Yeah.
But a Scots Guard unit there, and I believe this one down here is from way down south. So how they ended up in Ryhope, I'm not really sure, because look, 33 there from Somerset, which is way down in the West Country. Okay. Which is where all the farmers are from.
Oh, actually, I didn't notice the rest of this cemetery.
Yes.
It's huge.
Big. It's big. Like I said, the whole thing is, this is supposed to be some little village out of Sunderland. Little village. But really, in comparison to where Tanya and I are from, it's not very little at all. Well, I mean, the place that I'm from, Kinross, is technically a town. It's not even a village, and it's still probably smaller than this. And then I grew up in a village in Fife called Falkland, which is famous for having a palace and for being full of old people.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, so it's got...
Probably because it's a village.
Yeah.
And that's why it's full of old people.
It's a village, so it's quiet, and when you're a kid, it's boring.
What was your usual activities probably when you were younger?
When I was younger in Falkland, it was mainly just getting outside. When I was
just get outside. Yeah. My favourite activity is just to get outside.
So, well, it was a lot different than this in terms of a village, because it wasn't... Falkland was really not near anything, and that's one of the things I've noticed about being down in Sunderland, especially, is a lot of things are near other things, if that makes sense. In Scotland, unless you're in a city or a relatively big town, nothing's all that close to each other.
In terms of villages in Belarus, you can't see. In Belarus, you can't find village like this. I mean, this village is huge in comparison with Belarusian's one, and I would say, again, in comparison with Belarus, it's posh.
Yeah, it's posh.
It's posh village.
It's posh. Well, that's
if it were in Belarus, it would be
I suppose
super good.
That's honestly a difference in cultures, because here, especially back in the day when this was a mining place, would have been considered not the northeast considered not a very nice place.
Yeah.
I would consider, honestly, what the village I grew up in, Falkland, as being posh because, again, it had a palace. It was full of old people. It got there were loads of tourists there all the time.
Okay.
Which, when you're older, it's nice, I suppose. But
No.
when you're younger, it's a bit weird to have a bunch of Americans kicking around your little village all the time.
You saw a lot of Americans in your village?
There were a lot of.
Interesting.
There were a lot of America in the summertime, again, because of the palace, and it seemed weird at the time because you'd be thinking, well, why on earth are they coming to visit where I'm from? Where I'm from, so boring.
Okay.
But then you'd go and visit where they're from and think it was incredible.
Okay, so our next destination is colliery.
Yeah. There's a whole big area in Ryhope that's dedicated to the colliery, because it was a massive deal here, wasn't it? Like, it was the industry in Ryhope. You said you were from Minsk, right? Which is
almost, yeah.
Yeah, which is like the capital of Belarus, right?
Yeah.
Again, I'm not an expert on Belarusian or Eastern European geography, and I doubt many people listening will be. But yeah. So is it like a kind of similar situation with Ryhope and Sunderland? Because you said almost. So do you live on the kind of outskirts, or do you come from the kind of outskirts?
Actually, I used to live in a city that, like, I can go from this city. I can spend an hour, I guess, to go to Minsk. So I consider it like almost Minsk.
When you were describing, I'm almost from Minsk. That's a bit like how I have to say where I'm from, because no one knows where Kinross are unless they're from Scotland. So I have to say, I'm from Kinross. It's about 30 minutes north of Edinburgh. Okay. So I'm near Edinburgh.
Yeah.
How does where you were from then compare to this? Because again, you called it posh
as a village.
How does the place?
Belarusian villages are very poor. There is nothing to do. Only old people live there. Yeah. Because again, there is nothing to do. And if, like, for instance, if you are a 40 years old man, I suppose that you are an alcoholic. Yeah. Because it's like villages in Belarus are very boring. In Ryhope, I see a lot of really nice houses, nice cars.
Well, is that something you'd only see in
Belarus?
In big cities or something in Belarus?
Yes, of course. Like, you can't see the same. It's not like in Belarusian village. But I want to notice the nature here. It looks like in Belarus. Yeah. Like 100%. The trees, grass. I don't know, the temperature in October. Everything looks like in Belarus in this time of the year. Yeah,
I mean we have talked a decent amount about where we're from, like, but I suppose we've not even touched on the subject of why we're even here. It's like, what led you to come to Sunderland? Because I don't know, I thought, oh man, it's big for me. I'm moving 4 hours away from my house to go to university in England. Yeah, I thought that was a big deal for me. It was like, oh, I'm moving across the country. I'm going to university and that. But I mean, you literally did come from a different country.
I used to, like, in Belarus, I used to work as an editor and journalist. I have a bachelor degree in journalism, and when I firstly heard podcast as an audio storytelling, I decided that this direction in storytelling really suits me. For me, this is the best way to tell a story. I decided that I want to make podcasts, and I even tried a few.
Yeah.
It was like an amateur level, and but I wanted to develop my podcasting skills and my storytelling skills, and I decided to come to the UK because there are at least a separate academical program in podcasting, so you can go to the university to study.
I studied radio for a couple of years up in Scotland, and basically we had a deal. I went to 2 colleges. I went to Edinburgh College and I went to Fife College. Fife College has a deal, like a lot of colleges around in the UK and in Ireland. There's a few in Waterford and Cork. Have a deal with Sunderland that if you study a certificate and a diploma, then you can get down here on the 3rd year. So we were kind of direct entry students. So even though we're on a master's course, we've only been studying in Sunderland for 2 years. So yeah, that's how I got down here. But also I've got family ties to the northeast. My grandparents, like I said, my grandparents and my dad's side of the family are from Teesside, which is near here. My granddad actually came to college, a bit like me, in Sunderland to do electrical engineering. And he actually lived down near the south of Sunderland because it was closest to Teesside, because the transport links back then weren't what they are now. So he couldn't just go home. He had to stay in Sunderland. And that's...
harsh time.
That's kind of, well, I mean, it's kind of like our situation now. But when it's weird to think about, because when back then you couldn't do it, but now if you lived in Teesside and wanted to go to the University of Sunderland, you could just drive here every day, whereas like obviously that wasn't possible for him, and it's definitely not possible for you. It's not possible for me, and it definitely isn't for you. You couldn't fly back and forward every day.
Yeah, I definitely couldn't come here like from Belarus,
well,
even once a month.
Yeah, we're at the pit wheel now, which is. It's kind of strange to look at, I suppose, because when you think that used to be a big mining pit wheel, and now it's in a field.
A football field.
Yeah, it's in a football field, and there are children playing on bicycles around it. Okay. It seems weird to think that this used to be an actual coal mining pit.
We don't have the same issue in Belarus, we don't have... Actually, like, before our meeting, I even Googled the existence of colliery in Belarus, because, like, previously I told you that there were no colliery in Belarus. I was mistaken. Actually, there is one.
There's one.
One even, yeah.
Well, I mean, as well, thinking of the collieries used to mean so much to people here, but something else that means an awful lot to a lot of people is football here in general. I don't know how big... What the biggest sport over in Belarus is.
Hockey.
Hockey.
Because our president likes hockey.
Because the president likes hockey.
Yeah.
So it's massive because it's so easy to play. Like I was saying, I didn't come from a deprived area in Scotland, but there was absolutely nothing to do. Okay. So the easiest thing you could do was get a ball and kick it around.
Or become an alcoholic.
Yeah, or become an alcoholic, like in the Belarus.
Like in the Belarusian villages. Yeah.
Yeah, I suppose when I was 11 years old, I couldn't do that. Now, if I was back there, I could if I wanted to, I suppose. But
okay. The end. Bye.
The end. Bye.
The end,
we have been going for a while, and we have been waffling for a while as well. So I suppose it is a good point to stop recording. Thanks for listening to this episode of Getting to Know You. It was produced by Tristan and Tanya at the University of Sunderland. Our music is from upbeat.io, and you can find more episodes at gettingtoknowyou.sounder.fm.